Whiskey Jason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany, often reviewing rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have something which is a little bit interesting, let's say that. Bushmills, 10 years old, Vino Dulce Reserve, Single Malt Irish Whiskey, 43%. We have Whiskybase number 253446. This appeared on the market over here in Europe around May 2024. So what it is basically we take this standard 10-year-old, which is matured in bourbon and sherry casks, and then we give it a finish in Vino Dolce. So vino means wine, dolce means sweet, so sweet wine casks. Where do these sweet wine casks come from? No idea. No information whatsoever. I cannot find a single press release about this except for one in French. I just don't really understand what Bushmills did with this. This was a little bit like, it just suddenly appeared in my wholesaler's online shop. Oh, and the cork broke off after opening it 6 times. It was a little bit long and it just broke off, and I think that's a little bit of a bad sign for me. This is 43%. Nowhere do I find the words natural color on it, but I do find on the back here mit Farbstoff Zuckercouleur. So it actually has here artificial coloring. It says here distilled and bottled in Ireland at the old Bushmills distillery. Drink responsibly. That's great. So that's at least something there. All right. So no mention of chill filtration, but there is mention here of Zuckercouleur, so artificial coloring. Now this, 40 euros. This, 24 euros. Now that's the average price. I've seen it for 23 and I've seen it for 28, but I think I have like 6 shops online at the moment that sell this for 24 euros. A 10-year-old single malt Irish whiskey. But Jason, the most sold Irish whiskey is Jameson. That's much better, isn't it? No, not in my opinion at least. This is my product. I would pay 5 euros more for a single malt 10-year-old age-stated whiskey. Yes, it's only 40%, rather than the Jameson, which is going to be 60 to 80% grain and 20 to 40% single malt. And I really, with Jameson, really taste the grain there, and I'm not the best fan of it. Now, if nothing else is there and I really want to drink, like at a wedding or an open bar or something, I would maybe go for that. But to be very honest, if they had the Bushmills, I would take this every day of the week and night and weekends and so on instead. That's my product that I prefer. All right, very, very interesting here. Now, I do have some tasting notes from a website here in Germany. Now, the very first thing I get is a tiny little bit of sulfur. Now, I'm over sensitive. I'm uber sensitive to sulfur. But I do get a little bit of sulfur here. I should be getting sweet vanilla, honey, mandarin, and a little bit of a sharpness with spice. Now, if I go over here to the standard 10, this has... it's clean. I have the vanilla of the bourbon. There's not much sherry influence going on over here. I'm sure Bushmills uses their sherry butts 2, 3, 4, maybe even more times, all right? The sherry is very, very, very gone. But the bourbon is there. It has a grain malt sugar moment. It has that wonderful, almost like fresh, like a meadow. Yeah, it's grass, it's flowers, it's springtime. It's just, I like. I do like this 10-year-old. Now we're not big friends. We're not best friends. We're not even good friends. All right, so This is what I really don't know. Now, Bushmills is a very big company. I'm going to actually say maybe the second biggest distiller, and Great Northern has more. It's the third biggest distiller of whiskey in Ireland. Now, Great Northern makes grain and single malt and pot still, I think, as well. And so Bushmills makes single malt, single malt, single malt. And so we recently had them on our podcast. I really have to go back and look at the capacity numbers because they built a second distillery and have almost basically doubled capacity at Bushmills up there. If you're ever close to the Giant's Causeway, go. Go to Bushmills. Go to the gift shop. Do the tour if you've never done it. That was the epiphany in my life for whiskey, as standing in the warehouse in Bushmills, maybe 6 stories high, those wooden casks there, and it was like a cathedral of whiskey and wood. I loved it. It was so fantastic. And ever since then, I've had this passion and this desire to learn more about whiskey. Started my whiskey channel and haven't looked back. So next year, 2026, will be my 10th anniversary. So I'm working now my 9th anniversary this year of doing whiskey reviews, at least in German, and in English I started, I think, 2 years later. So take a look at I have to take a look at when I uploaded my first video here. Was it 2018 or 2019? Onto my English program, my English channel here. All right, cheers. My tongue tickles a little bit, which is always, for me, the evidence of that sulfur. It's not a sulfur bomb, but there is sulfur going on in there. Those sweet wine casks, they probably received the sulfur candle. They were shipped over to Ireland, so they don't spoil sweet wine. Bourbon, 62.5% probably ABV. That does not spoil in the wood. Wine, 12%, 14%, yes. And so you'll just turn it into some type of vinegar, and it just doesn't taste good. And so they put that sulfur candle in there, and they prevent it from spoiling, from turning bad. And the wood absorbs the sulfur, and then when the whiskey's added to that at a high proof, probably 63.5% or even more, it just absorbs that sulfur out of that wood. And I taste it, unfortunately. So, how long was the finish? Who knows? Where did these sweet wine, Vino Dulce casks come from? I don't know. Would I actually recommend this? It's a C- whiskey, so actually, no. For 40 euros, value for money, for me, it's a D. I would not buy that. Now, over here in Europe, we actually had a 10-year-old Bushmills from sherry finish. This is about 5 years of age. These bottles are still out there. Exactly the same price. 39.90 euros. But you get 1 liter instead of 0.7 liters. And it tastes very good, very delicious. Now, if I were to buy one single Bushmill product, now there are all these Causeway collection bottles out there. I'm just going to ignore those for the moment. Those are often just in one country, one bottling, and there's been some that's been all over the world, but many of these have just been difficult to find. I would go for the Bushmill 16. Now, the Bushmill 21 is not my favorite. I love Madeira, but it has a little bit too much Madeira. Can that be? There's now the 25 and the 30 that's been added to Bushmills. 4 digits, 1,000 euros plus for these bottles. No, thank you. Don't need them. But they're out there, and that's just, I don't think any whiskey is worth 1,000 euros to drink. Now, as a collector's item and maybe as some type of investment for the future, who knows? But to drink, no. It is unique that Bushmills actually puts that on their website here. They start off with the original, the Black Bush. They go to the 10, they go to the 14. Malaga wood, very nice, very good money, value for money. 16, 21, 25, 30. That's it. They don't have anything else according to the website. Not a lot of good transparency there. All right, so just a tiny little sip of this and going back to that. That's a solid whiskey. And for 24 euros, that's actually going to be a value for money B. All right, it's difficult to be, and you get a nice little box. So here, I don't know if you know, I can show this or not, but going here to my, once again, my camera, you can maybe see here, it says here, separate for recycling. Please, okay. But please recycle metal and paper individually, and there's that perforated line. So I still need this, but you can push that in there. You can separate the lid, which comes off anyways, from the bottom, and then you can actually just put this into the paper, recycled paper, and this into your recycled metals. Great. I think that's thank you, Bushmills, for that. I think that's fantastic, and is a further reason to think about buying Bushmills. For example, the 10-year-old, for example, the 14-year-old Malaga, for example, the 16-year-old. And if you can ever actually find a Causeway collection that you can try before you buy, do it. They're often great. We've begged Bushmills now for, I'm going to say decades, to finally give us something with more than 40%, and they did. They listened to us, and that is something. Thank you, Helen Mulberry, for starting that off. Thank you, Alex Thompson, for continuing it. No. But if you are sensitive to any type of sulfur, steer away from the Vino Dulce and steer towards the 16-year-old or the 10-year-old. What is your favorite Bushmill product? Write it down in the chat. I'm going to go for the 16-year-old. That's my favorite still. And thank you very much for watching, liking, subscribing, and telling others. See you real soon here. Whiskey Jason. Bye-bye.